Welcome to Sports Close-Up with my co-host Ed Marin. I'm Mike Fiorillo, and by the way, this is my last show. So first off, I want to thank all the coaches, the athletes, and all the special guests that we've had on Sports Close-Up. I've been doing the show for 9 years now. It is my third co-host. Seems like I can't keep a co-host.
I know, right?
But anyway, my first co-host, the late, great Gary Clark, a tremendous impact on my career as far as announcing. And then we went to Jim Berger, who was a former SID of Allegheny College. Then we were looking for a co-host. Kevin suggested Ed Marin. I don't know why, but Ed came on board.
Thanks, Kevin.
Did a good job.
Appreciate it.
And also, my first producer, former tremendous worker at Armstrong, Jeff Corey, who put a lot of hours in at Armstrong. And so this is kind of dedicated to Jeff and Gary. And if you look at the dais here on this big table, these are people that I had a chance to work with in some capacity along my career. Far left is DARRYL Jones, my first golf coach.
Still hasn't helped yet.
We'll get into those stories later. To his right is John Matilla, who once reminded me the difference between a coach and a manager.
That's going to be my new co-host.
To my left, needs no introduction, the Professor Vic KRESS, who is a pleasure to work with, and we can get into some of that stuff later on. To my right, obviously, is my co-host Ed Marin. To his right is Luke Rio, who has done a tremendous job with Stream Media Sports, and had the pleasure of working with Luke side by side last year when we did football and basketball for Meadville, and that needs to continue down the road, but that'll be somebody else's issue. But what a great job that was last year. We had a lot of fun doing that, and a lot of spectators in the Meadville area really enjoyed that. To his right is the person that actually got me involved, brought me back to broadcasting here in Meadville, was Ray REISDORPH, who first time I met Ray was in the bleachers of Meadville High School. Keith Allen Austin, the late Keith Allen Austin, brought us together, and Keith called me up and said, "Would you like to do Meadville football?" And I said, "Sure." And he goes, "Well, this guy Ray REISDORPH is going to do the play-by-play. You'll meet him in the bleachers. They have a scrimmage Saturday," and we met there. I think our first time, your daughter was there too? She was real small then at that time? Right?
Yeah, she would have been about a year old.
Yeah, right.
That. Yeah, 2010 was when we first started working together.
And then, of course, to Ray's right is the head coach of the Meadville Bulldogs, who's done a phenomenal job since he's taken over the program, Ray Collins. And I've told this to Ray many times. I told many people that would listen to me. Meadville's very fortunate for the coaches they have in their system, and you can't find a greater person for your son to play football for than Ray Collins. And Ray, I want to thank you tremendously too, because when I started announcing, you let me go to practices. I probably bothered you a lot, but I was at practice all the time.
With the donuts.
I went to Sunday meetings. Saturday morning, if the kids wanted, I'd bring donuts in on Saturday. But even going to those meetings, and you guys broke down films, and I got to see what it takes to be a coach, and how much caring that you guys put in, but also this, how much caring you have for your players. Now, you want to win, but you actually care for the kid first. And a good example of this, and I want to let the community know this, and I think it's a great example, is Ray and his wife Rachel had a tragedy happen in their family about a month ago now, maybe 3 weeks. And a former player who's now at Penn State got a hold of Ray to let him know how bad he felt for Ray and his family. And that just doesn't happen if the players don't respect you. So again, Ray, it's a compliment to you.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that.
No problem. So Ed, I'm going to turn it over to you because you put this thing together.
Well, yeah, it's just a little roast on you for your last show. Because I'm bringing on my new co-host, John Matilla, over there.
And the show will be a little different with John at the helm.
You think?
So,
It's going to be a little bit more fun.
Yeah, it will. It'll be a little wild.
And he'll let me talk.
Maybe.
Yes, I will.
Maybe. But Mike, I really appreciate you, asking me to, come on and be your broadcast partner, calling the football games with Ray, and we got to see a lot of stuff,
Remember your one of your first games ever?
Oh my gosh, down at Du Bois. Can you forget about that? That game, we're like, I think you actually got tired of talking.
I did.
You did, and that's the first.
I know. I had nothing left for the post game. I just said there's no post game tonight.
No, and you brought me on this show, and I really had fun the last 5 years with you, Mike, and I really appreciate it, even with golfing. But I'm going to start it down there with DARRYL Jones, because you've known him quite a few years. You've golfed with him. You did some shows with him. And you're a big supporter of DARRYL's. But DARRYL, give us some insight on Mike. You know, what's some things that happened in the past?
Can I leave now?
Well,
Can you leave?
it's not true that I didn't help him with his golf game, because when I first met Mike and we first started playing, he was the lousiest golfer I'd ever seen.
But he still looks lousy.
And I told him that, but to his defense, he got better, and he has this burning desire inside him, like an athlete. He does not like to lose. He doesn't like to be defeated. And in the years that I've known him, his golf game has gotten better. I didn't say we're good, right, Mike?
Right.
But it has gotten better. The only thing I would say, we're coming up on Christmas, and I was thinking I wanted to get a Christmas present to him, but I'm going to be going down to visit my daughter in Florida. I'm going to get Mike a pair of golf pants.
Instead of those athletic pants?
Instead of these athletic pants.
With a
because
polo.
With the polos, yeah. And it certainly didn't look good. Sometimes I was a little embarrassed. Somebody would say, "Do you know that guy?" No, I don't know that guy. But I'm going to get him a good pair of like Shark slacks, you know, because as an appreciation, and so they won't be getting on you down there.
You might want to get him a muzzle too for down
I
there.
might want to get him a white belt and some white shoes too. I think he would fit in perfect down there in Florida.
You know, one of the thrills of being on Sports Close-Up is we had the chance to interview a lot of people, and when Gary was still alive and with us, so one of the thrills we had was to interview you and your brother, Lynn. And, you know, talk about two outstanding people from Crawford County. If you don't know that DARRYL and Lynn made the major leagues in baseball, you've probably been living in a cave around here. DARRYL had the fortune of playing for the Pinstripes, the Yankees. There's only one team that really wears pinstripes. And your brother Lynn played for a couple teams. The Tigers he started with, correct?
In Kansas City.
In Kansas City, and he has 3 World Series rings. Is that right?
3 World Series, yes.
And that was a treat for us. And then Allegheny College has done a documentary about you and Lynn, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Yeah, which if you haven't seen it, you can YouTube it, and it's fantastic. And just two quality people there. You know, and DARRYL, we were playing golf, I think it was last year, and DARRYL says, "You know, Mike, I got to be honest with you." He says, "You know, when we first played golf, I don't want to tell you, but you sucked. You were terrible." He goes, "You've gotten a lot better." And I really appreciated that, but DARRYL still put up with me when we first started playing golf, and I get my 8s and 9s and 10s, and he said, "Come on, let's go to the next hole."
Hey, we've had a good time, though.
We've had a
let's
lot of
face
fun.
it, we weren't going to be professional golf players, and we're out there to enjoy ourselves, and I've certainly enjoyed your company, that's for sure.
And
We're
we've had
going to miss you.
a lot of talks about sports on the phone and texting back and forth. And DARRYL has a passion of fishing, which I'll never understand because I can't sit still for 10 minutes and he's out there with the boat all day. But yeah, I'm gonna miss you too, D. But you know, we'll stay in touch. Maybe
We will.
Maybe visit each other when you go down to see Leah. His daughter Leah is a tremendous young lady, so you know, make sure you tell her I said hi because she's an outstanding athlete in her own right. So yeah.
Next on the block is John Matillo.
I thought we were supposed to roast Mike, but you're like those Allegheny College presidents who sit around and say how great Meadville is, and as soon as they're done with their job, they leave town. Right? Why are you leaving us, Mike?
Well, my 2 daughters and our grandkids live in Florida. And my wife and I decided when this COVID thing happened and all the craziness happened throughout the country that we need to be with our family and our kids. And, you know, first off, when my wife said we're going to Florida, I said 6 months here, and she said, grandkids are there 12. So I said, okay, I guess we're moving. So we're moving, and like I said, we'll miss everybody. But go ahead, John.
Anyways, I just want to say, people might not know, Mike was an educator at Crawford Central School District. He did a wonderful job for all the years, taking care of our youth in the middle school. Very difficult job. You were always kind to my children that went to school there, and you've coached in the system. You've been got involved down here at our Italian Civic Club about 30 years too late because you came in, you got nominated for an office, and you were a heartbeat away from the presidency. Never elected to an office, but you were a heartbeat away from running the place. But
It's like Gerald Ford.
yeah, it's been nice to get to know you, consider you a friend, and you have one great wife who ran our Catholic community of Meadville and St. Bridget's Parish, more importantly, for over 30 years, and she's just a wonderful lady. And I wish you and your family nothing but the best.
Well, I can come back at you with that, John. As you know, we both married up. Your wife,
No, I
Anita,
didn't.
is a super lady.
Yeah, she married up, Daryl. Come on.
Super lady, and again, John's family, all his kids, him and his wife did a super job raising their kids. They're all outstanding young people. You know, Emily, the youngest daughter, is unbelievable. She's a great teacher. She was a good athlete in Meadville, and her husband Cody is one of the hardest working young men I know. You know, he's just a great guy, and you know, he's good. So you have a great family.
Thank
Your
you,
sons
Mike.
are outstanding. Your other daughter's in Virginia. if
I've
I'm
been
not
very
mistaken,
blessed,
right?
yes.
As
Very
a,
blessed.
what was
She's
she
a
doing?
school teacher
She's a
also.
school teacher also, yeah.
I come from a family of school teachers, except for me. I got to work on commission, like Daryl.
Well, we're gonna
Retired.
we're gonna take it down to Coach Collins because
Yeah.
I know he has to get
Right.
ready for this Harbor Creek game this coming Friday.
I'm skipping turns here, huh?
Well, hey, you know, I mean, we want to hear, you know, your input on Mike because you work closely
Well,
with him, interrupting practice.
I have a lot of input on him, actually.
We got to hear this.
Well, you know, it's been fun. Last 7 years as the head coach, the time that I've got to spend with Mike has really been fun. It's been special. I think back to, you know, he used to come to every practice, and he always had a bunch of questions he wanted to know about us and the opponent. And he did a phenomenal job every week of a pregame show and understanding our opponent and understanding where our team was at. And I kind of chuckle when I think about, you know, we did interviews in the referee's locker room. We did them in my office. We did them upstairs while the kids were lifting. We've been everywhere to do an interview, even in a car at one time.
Yeah.
But
That's right, over at the fair.
and I laugh when I think about the few times when we would go through an interview, and you were always prepared. You had a list of questions, but the few times when the tape recorder actually didn't work and we'd have to start over again. But those were the fun times, and you know, and I've said this to numerous people, the excitement that you brought to this community over Meadville football, I applaud you because until you really dove into Meadville football, I think people liked Meadville football and they followed it, but you brought a new excitement about our program. And I've always said this, I credit you with really showcasing the Meadville football program. You know, it was always Meadville basketball, you know, it was kind of the king around here, but you brought us up to where people just loved Meadville football in this community and really followed us. And, you know, back in 2016 when we had Journey Brown, had that phenomenal team. I mean, you were with us the whole ride. Every practice, every film day, every game. I could still, you know, Mr. Leach, when he filmed the games, always plugs your audio into the camera. And just to listen to you and Ed screaming over the microphone when Journey or Antonio or Isaiah would break a touchdown, it gave you chills. And you know, I know the kids always loved Saturday mornings because they could always look forward. If we won, Mike was always the first guy there with about 3 dozen donuts and gallons of chocolate milk, and the kids knew it was a reward. I think they played more for you than they did for me, actually. And you know, last year we had some fun with Luke here when we did that segment on Armstrong. And if you think how funny that was, every week John Amato would come up with a new costume and come out behind Luke and the camera and try to make us laugh in the middle of the take. So I tell you, Mike, I just have a ton of fond memories of you and I on that football field and sharing Meadville football. And I'm sad to see you go. It's just not going to be the same without you around. I want you to know how appreciative I am of everything you did for me in my coaching career and for these kids in this program. We're going to miss you, but I wish you best of luck down there in Florida. And hopefully when you're sitting around, at least you got a red and black t-shirt on somewhere down there.
That's right.
Good luck to you, Mike.
And just to throw this out, Coach, is my grandson, my daughter, she adopted 2 kids, but her son, who's named Michael, is playing a little football. He's 8 years old, and he plays for the Bulldogs.
There you go. keep on that team.
Next on the list is Ray REISDORPH. Ray, you're the one that brought Mike on and started calling these games. What was your opinion of him when you first met him?
You could just tell the energy level and how passionate he was about Meadville sports. And Vic sitting next to Mike over there too. 2 gentlemen that I had the chance to work with for 8 years, and both of them just ooze that passion for the city of Meadville, for the athletes. And Mike, you mentioned the late Keith Allen Austin was the one that paired us up together. You and I spent a couple of innings together during a softball game when Adam Marco was still here before he went to the minor leagues. And of course now he's doing play-by-play at the AAA level in Wilkes-Barre, Scranton. But we did about 4 innings of a Meadville softball game together. So I recognize you, and I remember seeing you sitting at the House of Thrills all the time in your chair when you were still an administrator when I was calling games with Vic. But I knew right away when we were paired together. And the first game was, of course, that was Coach Aukenbaugh's first year back, and that the overtime game against Fairview, the first game we did. Folks, you're going to be hard-pressed to find someone who's more passionate about the students, and not just the athletes, but the students. Your job as administrator, you really cared about the kids, and you could see that coming out. And your passion in the broadcast booth was unrivaled, and we had a lot of fun together. And then, of course, in that 2010 season, you had a health issue that took you away for a couple of games, and then you had the triumphant return. You came back against Titusville, and then the heartbreaking double overtime loss to Corey, which is might be one of the best games I've ever seen, and that was incredible. But I got to tell one funny story about him though. So you want to know about the passion of Mike in the broadcast booth.
Up in
Warren, he knows where I'm going with this. So we're doing the game in Warren. That's the 79-78 game. In the fourth quarter, I think it was Journey had just scored a touchdown, Journey Brown, and Mike jumps up and knocks a ceiling tile, and it lands on my head right at the end of the call. So that was a pretty entertaining moment, but that just tells you it was an absolute pleasure working with you, Mike. And I remember when, as probably most folks know, I would commute up from Erie to broadcast both Meadville football and Meadville basketball, and I had an opportunity to get a gig that was in my own backyard, so I didn't have to travel as much. I could spend more time at home with my family. But when I had to pick up that phone and call you late summer of 2015 to tell you that I wasn't going to be returning for Meadville football, it was a very, very hard phone call to make.
Yeah, and Ray, one of the enjoyments we had together was driving that van that was real safe. And Ray would always drive it more, and Vic knows what we're talking about with that van. It was an interesting van that we were using from the station at that time. And the other thing was too, and we'd stop and get the snow off and try to scrape the ice, but it wasn't working too well inside the heat or the defrost. But the other thing was too, Ray, when we had the team with the Three Amigos in the backfield.
Yes.
That was a special team, and we had lost to Slippery Rock during the season. In fact, Coach Ock was so upset he started going after the official after game, Ray, if you remember.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, and then we met them at a college. I think it was Slippery Rock.
Slippery Rock.
But they were throwing flags against us, Slippery Rock, for breathing, I think. We met them at Slippery Rock, and we waxed them.
Yeah.
And one of the lines that you and I kept using was, "There's no flags," every time we went down to score. We had those 3 great running backs, and that was awesome, too. So we had a lot of fun
Foster
together.
and Epps, that was.
And
that was
one of the
fun
things,
years.
Ray, is you're also a good teacher. You taught me a lot about broadcasting. And Ray, he never talks about himself, but he came from Ohio, and he did a lot of broadcasting in Ohio also, and big-time football, high school football in Ohio, in a big-time station there, and he did some ice hockey, if I'm not mistaken, Ray. But the greatest thing about Ray is, like me, he's a Yankee fan. So we always discussed how good the Yankees were on our trips. So Ray, thank you.
They've been around since 2008.
Next on the block, Luke Rio. You worked with him for a couple of years, haven't you?
I don't. Which one's Mike? No, so Ed called a couple of weeks ago and he said, I'm trying to round up all of Mike's friends for this and
Friends, I didn't say friends.
well, that's what I never said. No. You said friends, and then you said I can't find any, so I got these guys. So I'm like, okay, well,
Few and far between.
yeah, that makes sense. No, Mike, I was trying to think. I don't remember that the first time I met. I don't know if it was Sports Close-Up doing the high school.
I think it was. I think we went out and did it. I think about John Heisman.
Okay,
He
so
helped us
maybe that was
tremendously.
it. Yeah. But from the start, you could just tell how passionate he was about our local history. In addition to the kids and all the sports programs, just the history that's here in Crawford County in Northwest Pennsylvania. There was a respect there, so that was easy to kind of attach yourself to. And Mike is one of the most passionate, most driven people I have ever met. And last year when we were working to do Meadville football, that's where I really saw it, Mike, just the passion that you'd have. And then I remember like after the first game or two, I'd go back and, we're looking at it. And Mike was, we weren't even at that Friday's game, and Mike was already working on the next week's game. So it's like, I felt bad, like, okay, easy, Mike, we'll get there. Let's just get through this week. But I just remember I'd go back and listen, and he and Ed would be talking to Shane Ream down on the field, and Mike or Ed would be checking comments on Facebook, and somebody would be saying something, and Mike would be like, Shane, you go tell coach to do, and this was during a game, go tell coach to do this. I'm like, it's during a game, leave him alone.
I've always listened to fans tell me what to do.
Yeah. But that also
Always
shows.
looking for somebody to help me out.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, he probably doesn't want that during the game.
Very good, Luke.
But also showed that special relationship you had with the coaches, and there was a respect there. And just like what everybody said, Mike, just the passion and the energy you brought is something that I will always carry with me, because it's something that we have, and I just love those conversations. That's what I liked about this year. The teams playing, those old rivalries coming back. Vic, we ran into Vic up in the press box at Meadville before the game, and he and Jim Bodemer are talking about the 52 team, and that's the kind of stuff that we love to hear about. And we
None of us up here besides Vic was born then.
No, but to sit back and hear that.
Don't take that, Coach. Don't take that from him.
He's going to get his.
Yeah, you're going to get it. Coach.
Yeah. Well, the other thing about Mike is, turning on Sports Close-Up and seeing those athletes that you normally wouldn't get to see, and you got to showcase those athletes, whether it was a volleyball player, a golfer, a swimmer, from some of the other schools that maybe don't get the attention, and you realize, wow, we have a lot of really good athletes here in Northwest Pennsylvania.
And that's one of the things I wanted to thank you too, Luke, because every time we wanted to go down, Titus wanted to do their basketball team, their golf team, whatever, volleyball team, you helped set that up for us. So thank you. The other thing I enjoyed working with you, Luke, when we did election coverage,
Election coverage, yeah.
especially the last presidential election, I really enjoyed it.
Do you want to tell that story real quick?
Yeah.
We try to balance the table out, Republican, Democrat, liberal, conservative. Well, it just so happened, like the last part of our election coverage 4 years ago, it was Mike and a table with, I think, all Democrats. Yeah. And
some things never change.
yeah. Well, one, Mike took them all on, and two, it just as the night went on and the energy left, Mike was just, his energy was going up. It was incredible to watch. But just the passion. Again, not necessarily athletics, but local politics and how it affects everyday life in your community. That's something else that was very important. So, it was always a lot of fun doing election coverage.
I just want to say something real quick. Coach Collins, he has a couple sons that have done really well, and his wife Rachel is awesome. I just wanted to let you know, Ray, that
Thank you.
you like John and I married up also.
Yeah. I have kicked my covers on that.
And then Ray, you have your daughter. I seen you just, when we bring up your daughter, you just glow, and you can tell how much love you have for your daughter. And your wife's also a great lady. And Luke, I said this to you before. Luke does a morning show on the radio and on stream, and also it's broadcast on Armstrong. And his ratings were like, eh. And Armstrong was like, maybe we're going to cancel the show. And then his co-host, whatever, left, and he put his wife on, Amy. And since Amy's come on, his ratings have gone way up. So his wife is carrying that.
Who's the show about, you or him?
No, but I just want to let you know, I have a lot of respect for the wife, and I will miss her chili. But
We'll send some your way.
yeah, she makes good chili.
We're going to take a little break here, Kevin, because Coach McElhinney is here. I will, but I'm going to bring Coach in.
You can have my seat.
Okay.
We'll be right back. Welcome back to Sports Close-Up, and we have a new guest at the far right is the head basketball coach for the Meadville Bulldogs, Mark McElhinney. And before we turn it back over there, one thing, Coach McElhaney, you've done very well, and you know where I'm going. This man has actually helped Prep get a new basketball coach. Prep is still trying to figure out how Meadville Bulldogs beat the Prep Ramblers in D10 championship games on a yearly basis. And one of the most exciting games for me last year, and Luke, we had the pleasure of doing that game, the D10 championship game, where Prep had beat us by 30, Vic twice. And nobody, I mean nobody, thought Meadville had a chance. Except
I did.
Well, very few, but Coach McElhaney and his kids did, and boy, Coach, that was one of the most exciting games for me. I mean, even all the games that took us to states, last year's D10 championship game was like, you know, at the end of the game, I'm like, are you kidding me? I mean, wow, and you've done a great job there, and you know, you look at your facilities compared to Press facilities, they got to be scratching their head. But anyway, go ahead, Ed. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I mean, you never let me talk, so I mean, that's good. But Coach McElhaney, you've worked with Mike in and out for, you know, probably 9 years or so since he's been doing radio and stuff. And give us your opinion on how that went. All the times that he's been in practice, bugged you, called you, before the game, after the game, yelling at you on the court when he's on the radio. But how did that go?
No, I mean, it's been wonderful. I mean, the passion that these guys have for as fans and as announcers for our sport is what puts us on the map. You know, it gives us so much exposure in the community, and it's what makes it a big deal. It makes it a big deal to the kids. And you know, I can't thank Mike enough for everything he's done over the years. He's there for everything. You know, and he has more passion than any fan. Maybe other than Mouse, more passion than any fan that in this program, and you know, it's what's helped make us successful. It makes us accountable. You know, we know that you know, he's watching over us, and we better be good. You better be good, because if not, you're gonna hear it.
Yeah. So how did you happen to leave right after the game? He'd sit there for 20, 30 minutes waiting for you to come up there just for that interview.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes you would rush up, but man, he's sitting there checking his watch. Where's he at? And I know it'll take this long.
Well, that's one of the reasons why. That's one of the reasons why Vic and I and Vic handled most of the interviews after the game. But that's why Vic and I went on the team bus, because we made sure we're going to get that ride home when Coach would come and do the interview, right, Vic?
That's right. No, neither one of you wanted to pay for gas. That's what.
Don't give away our secrets, guys. But you know what? When in the wintertime, it's better go on the team bus. It's safer. But you know, Coach, I want to thank you for giving me total access. You allowing me to go to practices, whether they were open or closed practices, allowing me to talk to the kids, allowing me to listen to you, and longtime assistant Chuck Jones and other assistants you've had, and getting to know the kids on a personal level. You know, again, I said this about Coach Collins. Again, another coach that Meadville's very lucky to have is you. The way you handle the players, and you've handled so many different crises along the way over the years, and you've handled it so well. You know, where some coaches might have just went nuts on a kid or something. You're very composed. Doesn't mean you're not strict or have rules, but you're very composed with those kids, which is a tribute to you and your makeup. It's amazing. And the other thing Coach started to do that Vic and I really enjoyed. John, if you're doing the games this year, you'll be able to enjoy it, unless I don't know who's going to do them, but that West Virginia trip every year has been great. And that's the thing you started, and that's been fun going down to West Virginia.
We've had a lot of good experience.
Doing a couple games, and the one year where Vic was still looking for a sandwich, and they gave us
His Reuben,
his Reuben. I mean, we were laughing. But that's been a good experience also. But you know, you've built the program. You have, and this man just doesn't coach the varsity. This man puts in hours to make sure the elementary program's up to par. He makes sure the high school kids are down there on Saturdays officiating the games. I mean, you've put in countless hours, and then in the summertime sometimes, you might not be aware, Coach McElhaney lives out in Vernon. He has a little basketball court out there outside, and he has kids that have graduated up there during the summer playing against kids that are coming back. And every Sunday, this is amazing to me. I think I've told you this, Luke, and Ray, you know this too, and I know you know it. Every Sunday, guys, the team goes to his house a Sunday night, and his wife either cooks dinner or the boosters provide dinner for the kids, and they watch film together. That is unbelievable. So you talk about a person that cares about the kids, this guy at the end of the table does. And we've had a lot of great games we did, Coach. I want to thank you. That ride the stage was unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know, those games at Slippery Rock, Vic, and other places we went to do those playoff games, we had a great time. One of our leading scorers is sitting on a bench, and we win the Western Final. You know, it was amazing. You know,
Great time.
it was a great time. So thank you.
Well, yeah, thank you. And on those games too, on the Sunday night games, it's nice to have you guys in the background. Yeah, the way we're set up, we get a DVD of the game, and we get you guys voiced in, and the kids demand that that's played. You know, they have to,
That's nice.
and it makes my job easy because I don't have to say, hey, why didn't you box out? I can be quiet through the whole game.
Perfect.
But you know what though, when I had the volume down, I think maybe after the prep game or so, it was pretty brutal, and so I had the volume down low, and the kids said, "Turn it up. We want to hear it. We want to hear what they have to say." So they appreciate that also.
Wow, it's been a pleasure. It's been thrilling. It's been, you know, football and basketball and Meadville doing those games has brought so much emotion to me. You know, believe it or not, it's brought tears to my eyes in some of those games because you get to know the kids.
Right.
And that's why when you beat Prep last year, I was so happy for the kids on your team because they work so hard.
Yeah.
And you know, and you guys as coaches work so hard, but you know, it's just, it's funny.
I'll never forget this. I was at Epcot at Disney World when you guys beat them. I could hear it from down there, and I'm looking at the phone going, "No, that's not right."
Well, I was doing the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were screaming so loud. I mean, even Vic, you know, low key, big, right? You know, but my headphones went flying off.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the heck?
And also, just to add on a little more intrigue with that, our former Meadville announcer was actually covering the game for
Yes,
his
I
station,
was.
and that's Ray. And,
Yes, I was.
And you know, I said Ray before the game, I said, this game's probably not going to be close. And Ray goes, oh, you never know. Ray, remember you said that. You said you never know. It's hard to beat a team.
We've been doing it long enough.
Yeah,
And
you said it's
yeah,
hard
it
to beat
was-
a team 3 times, and you were right. But it was exciting.
Well, we're going to go to Vic, who's been your right-hand man for quite a few years through
Yes.
basketball. You know, you guys spent a lot of time together.
Oh, yeah.
Vic, so how was it working with the legend Fiorillo?
Well, I'm going to tell you, but first of all, this is my chance now to get even.
Yeah.
And I'm a little upset with Ed because when Ed invited me here, I said, yeah, I can make it. I said, what's the deal? What's it going to be about? He said, oh, we're just going to talk. And I said, is it going to be a roast? Yeah. Well, I came prepared for a roast,
Good.
not a love fest.
Well, that's Mike on his. He's the one that's doing all the mushy stuff. So.
Okay, we're gathered here today to honor or dishonor the passing of Frank Fiorillo. Frank,
He's Frank.
Mike, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Frank.
When you're over 100, you're married.
It's going to be an outtake.
Mike and I hooked up with WMGW. It's been 10 years this year.
10 years. Yep.
Mike was play-by-play. I did the color analyst, and I'll be serious. Probably the only time during my talk here right now when I say that he was the most organized and prepared play-by-play guy I've ever worked with in 30 years. And I've worked with a lot of play-by-play guys. Mike would always get to the high school game 2 hours
Oh
before
my gosh, yes.
7 o'clock. He'd be there at 4:30 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. He'd get the
I
equipment
want to
out.
get a good parking space.
You did.
Yeah, I did.
He'd get his equipment out, test it, have everything, and he'd bring all these stats and rosters from the internet and have them there. Then he'd walk around and kibitz with the coaches and watch the JV game. Then I'd come in. All I'd have to do is buy him his Coke and hot dog.
Right.
And sit down, and we had a great broadcast.
But you also got a lot of information from the visiting coach when you came.
But this is your name.
Okay.
Like a good marriage, we had our ups and downs in it, and I can think of some. For example, Mike would always get on the referees. I'd always have to try to temper him when he was blasting away when there were calls against Meadville. But I can understand that, as someone pointed out, Mike was an educator at Meadville. He loved the dogs and he had great passion. And that I really liked. And we would kibitz about coaches' decisions. Oh, coach is going to put so-and-so in the game, or was that a charge? And Mike would say, no, it wasn't a charge, it was a block. And we just have on-air discussions.
Never a charge against Meadville, right?
No, never a charge. But I heard from listeners that they really liked the back and forth, and I thought we did a good job on it. I know one of the things we'd always get into a discussion about was when Meadville had the ball late in the game, and the score was tied, like about a minute and a half to go. I would say, play for one shot.
Now it can happen.
Play for one shot. And it either wouldn't happen, or else Mike would argue with me, and no, they should take the first shot they get. But Mike, don't forget that you can never lose if you take the last shot.
But you watched enough Meadville basketball, that's not gonna happen.
Well,
Vic, I think those were your
we'll talk
first
to
words.
We'll talk to Coach McElhaney
There you
about
go.
that later.
Good luck at it.
I think he got mad at me, or upset when I tried to talk about a fan in the stands that wouldn't take his hat off or would be sitting for the national anthem. I'd start to talk about it, Mike would cut me right off. But that's one of my pet peeves in that people that go and don't have any respect for the flag.
And I just want to interject there too, Vic. And Vic, you're right about that, but the thing that would get me going, the national anthem be on, we'd come back on the air, and sometimes Armstrong would be doing the game, and I look at Vic, and you could tell his eyes were like, I knew right away, he'd go, who's that person in the third row? Vic, I don't know, we're getting back to the game. Who is it? Find out who that is.
But the most embarrassing thing that I had, I took the blame on, was we were doing a Grove City basketball game a few years ago. And it was an important section game. Meadville won it. It was a close, highly intense game. And as soon as it was over, Mike said he was going to put the equipment back, and he told me, pull the power cord and disconnect us from the air. So I went down on my hands and knees under a table, and I'm looking, and I pulled this heavy power cord out of the wall. And I stood up and I looked at this commotion that was going on in the Grove City radio booth.
He pulled Grove City radio off the air.
They were doing a post-game interview. I'm standing there with the power cord in my hand.
Mike, what was one of our rules when it came to equipment and Vic?
Don't let him touch anything.
Thank you.
But anyhow, so I went back down and I plugged it in, and they were fine. Then I plugged ours out, unplugged it, and I'll tell you what, we got out of that gym real quick that night, a lot quicker than we wanted to. I have some idiosyncrasies to tell you about, Mike. Isn't this fun?
Yeah, go ahead.
We would go to a high school basketball game. Way game, Friday night on the road, and we'd always stop for a pregame snack at a fast food place.
That's what we did like the playoffs, because usually during the season we drove on the bus.
No, we drove to it a few times.
games, okay.
Yeah, both times. But Mike would get out of the car right away as soon as we got there. He'd beat me to the counter at the Arby's or wherever it was. I'd follow him right in. He'd go to the counter, order his food, 2 hamburgers, large order of fries, large beverage, and a cookie if they had it, or a small pie. He'd take his tray back to the table. I would get my tray with 1 hamburger and a bottle of water. I'd get back to the table, Mike's done eating. He's done eating. He's the most ferocious and fastest eater I have ever been around in my life. And I lost weight when I went to games with him. I couldn't eat what I normally would eat because he had that evil eye looking at me like, hey, let's go, we've got to get out of here.
Well, you did take a while to eat.
Well, yes, I am the slowest eater in town.
Or he would just resume
Yeah.
eating in the third quarter
Right.
while on the microphone.
Because we went to the playoff game in Slippery Rock, and Ray was with us that day, and we went to the restaurant 2 hours before the game, and Ray and I are done, and Vic's politicking because he knew everybody in the restaurant. Finally sat down to eat, and we both looked at Vic and said, Vic, we gotta go. We're on the air in 25 minutes. So he took his to go, and the playoff game in Slippery Rock, we're on the floor, and we're announcing, and I go, and I'm doing the game, and I go to Ray, what do you think? And Ray gives his info, and I said, Vic, what do you think? I look over, Vic's got the sandwich in his mouth. I said, okay, Vic, you can tell us later.
Along that line, you and I did Allegheny football games
Yes.
for quite a few years.
Yes,
And
we did.
On away game, we did our games home and away at that time.
Oh, no, I just did home games.
Did you?
Yeah, I think you and Ray did home games.
We did.
Well, we did some away games at Wabash.
Not me.
Didn't you do that?
No.
Okay.
I did all home
You just did the whole.
games. I just did a home game. You and Ray did.
See how your memory starts to go down?
You're doing well, Coach.
You're probably Ray Horner you're thinking
No, this is.
of. John Worley.
I had so
Yeah, you go
many.
back 100
I had so
years.
many I can't remember. But I'm sorry to see Mike go, but I can understand. You know, he's moving to Florida. His wife is anxious to go too to see the girls and grandkids. And I just worry about you being bored. But that was put. I didn't worry about that when I heard that.
Uh-oh, here we go.
I heard that Cindy was going to refine your game because she got tired of hearing you complaining and in a bad mood every time you came home from playing golf.
Golf. You know, yeah. And I want to thank you, Vic. It's been a pleasure working with Vic. And I said this to many people. You think about passion and how you love Meadville sports. I don't know how many people, if they had a place in Marco Island that Vic goes to, would decide to fly home in winter here in Northwest Pennsylvania to do Meadville basketball. He's been doing Meadville basketball for a long time. He bleeds red and black. And I got to share this story, Vic, because this still makes me chuckle, guys. We're doing a game, and I think it was a Monty Foster, and he had a little bit of an injury. And I went to Coach Mack the day before, and I said, is he playing tomorrow? And he goes, he's day by day. We don't know. So we go on the air, and I said, Vic, Coach McElhaney, he said, Monty's day by day. When I'm missing a beat, Vic looks at me and goes, aren't we all? Exactly, John. I love that. I mean, that's Vic. His humor is right there, and it's good. And Vic knows the game of basketball, and I learned a lot by sitting next to you, Vic, because I say stuff, and Vic goes, nah, this is why they're doing this. And the other thing Vic will do, Coach Mack, you know this, because you listen to a lot of broadcasts, and some of you guys know this from listening. If Coach Mack has a young man on the team that's a poor foul shooter, Vic will offer his services and say, I can teach this kid to shoot underhand. He can become a better foul shooter. And he'll tell the kids that. And also, the other thing you do, nicknames. Vic comes up, Ray? He comes up with nicknames for all these kids. And
The franchise, the assassin.
yeah.
There were many of them when we were paired up together for sure.
Yeah.
He gave me my nickname when I was in 5th grade. Yep.
I don't want, do you want me to elaborate on that?
That's okay.
I think
It's Mike's roast, not
I think
mine.
one of the things one of the nicknames I really liked the last couple of years when Davion Butler was playing, he hit a three, and I go, the Butler did it. And we had fun.
Yeah, we had a lot of
fun. Remember
we
the
had a
game
lot of
that Foster hit that shot against Prep at home?
Oh, boy.
That was amazing. So, yeah.
Although I did have Blue Shoes Hughes' sister call me one time a couple of years later and said, would you stop calling him that? So,
And it worked out better, too, when we were able to go down on the floor. We always
Yeah.
like
Oh,
to
yeah.
broadcast
Love
on
the
the floor.
floor.
We get out of that thing way up high, and we're able to get down on the floor. And that's the best, because you have access to the coaches and the fans.
and really, no matter how many disagreements, back and forth thing we had, we always had great respect for each other.
Oh, yeah.
And let each other do our own shtick. And when the game was over, we'd both go to our cars and we'd
Wouldn't
say,
speak
"Good-
on the way out.
Good game, good job.
Just kidding. No.
But I think I probably said too
How long
much.
you been doing Meadville basketball?
30 years.
30 years.
Wow.
I mean, you know,
30 years.
like I said, he has a place in Marco Island, and he comes up to do Meadville
Yeah, but
basketball.
it wasn't bought. It bought was doing Meadville basketball.
Did you get a raise for football this year?
I think I said enough. I've probably gone over the time
Roast the
limit.
coach.
But Mike always had a tag when the game was over. He'd make his last statement and that, and he'd always end by saying, "This is Mike Fiorillo. Have a good evening, and go Dogs!"
And,
My retort to you,
the other thing I had to share a quick story about the late Gary Clark, who and Ray knew him real well too. Tremendous respect for the guy, and he did Meadville hockey, John, as you know, for years. And he did little Allegheny sports and some Meadville sports, football and basketball. And I was starting out doing a play-by-play of Meadville basketball. And I went in one time to see Gary about sports close-up, and I said, "Gary, man, I don't know if I can still do this." And he goes, "What's wrong?" And I said, "I don't remember the visiting teams' names that right away when I'm first doing the game. The home teams, I go to practice, I know our kids." And he goes, "Let me take a seat." He goes, "Ain't nobody from Warren listening to it." Just make up the names. I go, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "When we did hockey, some team from Cleveland came in." He goes, "You made up Rajewski with this shot, this guy." I said, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah, they're not listening." I'll never forget that. I thought that was great.
we did that a lot.
Yeah.
But my final tag out would be to say to Mike, "Go, Mike.
Thanks. Bill.
Please go."
That's good. That's good. And what Vic doesn't tell you, though, Vic is a big poker man. Once a week he plays with his friends that play a lot of poker. He's a big card sharp. But anyway, I want to thank everybody. I want to thank
Not done
everybody. I'm sorry. Ed, that's right.
That's fine.
Ed's in charge now, Mike.
That's true.
Mike, I really appreciate, after Ray left, you asked me to come on board. I really had fun the last 5 years, doing football with you, and then doing some of the games, basketball when Vic was on vacation.
Well, let's talk about that, because the first time I had you were in my class many years ago, but the first time
I was sleeping all the time.
You were sleeping, but the first time we got together was when we went out to Erie, and we did a sports close-up on the Erie Invaders. Is that the team? Explosion. You were a special teams coach.
Yeah.
We interviewed you, and I remember when I was looking for somebody for football, and Ray goes, "Who do you think you get?" And I said, "Ed Marin." And Ray goes, "That's a great choice." He goes, "He knows the game real well." And I said, "The reason why I'm getting him is because I don't want a parking ticket."
No parking ticket, huh?
That's right.
He gave me one.
He gave you one.
Me too.
But in doing those, broadcasting is actually a lot different than when you're coaching. It really is, and I really appreciate all the dinners that you bought me. When we'd go on away football games and that. People don't realize this. You do, and these guys do. They know you wear your emotions on your sleeve. You really care for those kids, just as what you've done for me and my family, And I should have never showed you the gift thing on the text messages, because that's all I get from this guy. It's not one, it's like 15, 16 in a row. But, I'm gonna miss doing the games and you hollering at the refs, getting real loud. It's some people will be like, "Oh man, that's so annoying." I said, "But you don't know Mike. He cares about everybody that's around him."
I got a little bit upset when we went to Pittsburgh last year for the playoff game. But
Yeah, we're sitting just like this, and the ref's running down. He's yelling at him right when we're on the air, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, no!" And then the fans over there laughing. The opposing team. Who was that, by the way?
Obama.
Yeah, Obama.
Yeah, Obama,
They're sitting there laughing at you, and you're yelling. But I'm gonna miss that. And I told you when you move, I was done calling Meadville games, didn't I?
yeah, you did.
I'm happy to take over the show, and hopefully I do it as well as you do, because you did a very good job.
Let's talk about it. The other show we incorporated a couple of years ago, our golf show.
That was fun. There were a lot of people actually enjoyed that, because we got to go out and just
different courses.
Right, and help promote those courses, and just to get to know the heritage of the courses.
And people like DARRYL always say, "How many shots did it take you before they put it on there?"
Actually, we didn't cut too many, did we, Kevin? Well, I can
That should be a show.
Well, no, there was one we were doing at Venango, and we were on 15, and Mike's like, I don't know if I would put that camera there, Kevin, right beside the hole. I'm going to hit it. Sure enough, he pounds the ball. I mean, this ball would have been, you know, in like number 11 tick fairway, but he pounds the ball and hits the camera. But Mike, I mean, just what you've done. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I'm glad you're leaving.
Yeah, I understand.
Because it gives me someplace to stay when I go down on vacation.
But no, we had a good time doing games together, Red, and you're fun to do games with. You know, we did a lot of football. I remember the first game, and he goes, "What am I saying here?" And I said, well, "You fill in on stuff."
Remember how nervous I was?
He was a nervous wreck that first game. I don't know what I should say. I said, "Just say what comes to your mind." I look over. This is a treat doing games with Radar, and I didn't understand at first why. And he has his phone. He's looking at his phone. I'm like, "Pay attention to the game." He goes, "Mike, I got all these compliments on Facebook about us doing the game and so forth." So he communicated with the fans during the game on his phone, Facebook our fans. And I'm trying to like watch the game. He goes, "I know what I'm doing."
They were Ed's relatives.
And I will say this to a tribute to you, because on some tough circumstances in your life, the job you did raising your two kids is unbelievable. And you have two outstanding kids. And me and Ed were doing a lacrosse game.
Oh.
And his son plays lacrosse for me. Well, did play lacrosse for Meadville. And we're doing a game, and it's near the end of the game. I forgot who
4
they
seconds left.
who
They
were
were
they
playing
playing?
Fairview.
They're playing Fairview. 4 seconds left. His son has the, whatever they call the thing, the ball. But then
Stick?
no, what's in there? The ball.
You did play-by-play?
I did.
He did do it too.
I did. I knew I had a stick for lacrosse.
Well, it was funny because
But anyway, he gets the ball with 4 seconds left, and he turns around and makes a
20 yards.
fantastic move, 20 yards from the goal, and whips it, goes by the goalie to win the game. And my headphones almost broke. I hear this, my color man, his son just made the winning goal. He scored! He scored! He scored!
that's my boy.
My boy,
He's
put my-
laughing with his headset
took
down
him
here
down.
like this. I'm like, uh-oh, he's gonna fire me. I'm thinking.
But no, we've had a lot of fun together, and I just want to thank everybody up here, because everybody up here is a special person. All these people, what's really great about all these people in an area like, and John Matillo once told me something that's really stuck with me, and he's right. He said to me, the young kids in this area are very lucky for the coverage they get. With the Meadville Tribune, the Meadville radio station, Armstrong TV, Stream Media, when they're playing sports, because you go to a lot of areas throughout the country, kids of this age, and in the area too with Ray, what he does, kids of this age don't get the coverage that they get
Look at the
around.
sports close-up that you do for these kids and give them the.
Well, that's fun.
Give them
you
a
know.
platform.
Yeah, and you know, I hope that Sports Close-Up gave people that, because we tried to do every sport, because a lot of the kids, you know, they play golf or something like that, they like a lot of it. We even did bowling,
Yes.
you know, because, which was fun too, so
We tried to do golf, but it just didn't fit.
we tried to do a golf match. But
Yeah,
it
that
didn't
was
fit.
Ryan Ferry's last
Yeah,
year, but
but-
we just couldn't get it in.
Well, we had golfers on, Sacred Town golfers, Titusville golfers.
And hopefully I can keep that going
Meadville
with
golfers,
your
yeah.
absence, you know, and because I'm bringing on John
John.
Matillo here, I think
Right.
he's going to do very well, and
Yeah.
you're the one that actually recommended him.
Yes, yes, because, you know, as I think Mark just pointed out, I've known John for a long time, but I've known John going to games, and he hates when Meadville loses a game. Well, John went to Meadville,
Oh, yeah.
and John has lived in Meadville his whole life, and there's nobody around who cares more about Meadville sports than John does. And John loves when Meadville wins. And when his sons were going to school, here's a story a lot of people don't know. When his sons were going to school, a lot of his sons' friends would spend a lot of time at John's house. And some of those people didn't have a lot of money, and John and his wife would take care of them out of their own pocket, which is a tribute to you and your wife, John. So, you know, I've known a lot of stuff you have done, so you'll do a great job. And I always laugh too when before I knew you that well, and you go to games and you start screaming at officials, and I said, man, I don't know why he does that. Well, now I understand.
You guys are related?
Yeah, now I understand why. But anyway, thank all of you. You know, you're all special to me.
Thank you, Mike.
Well, you're all special to me, and I'm going to miss you guys. Mark, I expect me will have a great season again this year with your leadership. The amount of talent that you get and what you do with that talent is still amazing to me. Year in, year out, your teams are competitive. and they fight until the end. Ray, thank you for all your guidance. And I called you, you know, when I started doing it, even last year, I'd call Ray from time to time. We speak almost once every couple of weeks about, and I'd ask him a million questions. I'd be setting up for games when I first took over, and I call Ray, and he's setting up for a game in Erie, and I say, Ray, what do I do? He goes, you check that plug. You check this plug. And oh, okay, thanks, Ray.
Plug A into B.
Yeah.
You know how many
Yeah.
calls I would get to,
Yeah.
pictures and everything, when him and Vic were trying to set it up?
Yeah, but I mean, Ray was, and then a lot of the stuff that Vic talked about, like introductions, Ray kind of gave me a script that he would use, and this is how you bring the game on, this is how you end the game, and you helped me tremendously with that, Ray, and I want to thank you. You, as I said to you before, Ray, you're one of the best broadcasters I ever heard. I don't care what level it is, you are tremendous.
Enjoyed working with
Wow, you are.
enjoyed working with you guys.
And Luke, just the time and effort you put in, and you're behind the scenes most of the time, is tremendous. I mean, what you've done for Titusville High School and the sports programs there is unbelievable. And I know you're branching it now for Oil City and so forth, but Titusville's lucky to have you. You know, they really are. A small town like Titusville, you've always put them on the map for many different things. I know you give a lot to the community. I know your wife's involved in a lot of different things in the community. Ed, I talked to you about what you've done just with your 2 kids. This is amazing to me. Vic, you're a national treasure. We had that nice roast for you a couple of years ago. For your birthday.
I know, that's why I wanted to get even.
Yeah, but no, you're amazing. And I tell you what,
That's right.
you are not, I'm not sure how old you are now. How old are you now? But
I'm not sure.
104.
whatever age you are, you're so, you know, you're healthy. Your mind is with you. You're a young.
You know why he's healthy? Mike, you
My
know why
wife
he's
helped
healthy?
debate that.
No, and John, you know, you're a tremendous person, and Darryl, you know, my son-in-law really likes you, Trev, and he has a lot of respect for you because he's a baseball guy like you. And
Do you remember the first time we met?
You and me?
Uh-huh.
No, I don't think so.
I was at a Meadville football game, and I didn't know who in the hell you were, okay? You were the assistant principal, and you came up to me.
Okay.
You knew who I was, and it was the night that Cleveland had all of those bugs,
Oh,
the midges flying, and it was against the Yankees.
yeah.
And you,
Robert Chamberlain.
yes, and you were telling me about this, and Mike's always had a little bit of an edge to him, okay?
Not really.
And so when he left me, I'm going like, who is this guy? Okay? Who is this guy? Well, then I found out he was from Long Island. Now I know where he got that edge. All right, he is one of the most avid Yankee fans that I have ever known. And I mean, when the Yankees win or they do something, my phone is just blowing up because he's sending me texts with Yankees insignias and so on. But Mike, it has been a pleasure. We've had a lot of good times out on the golf course, and
Yeah.
it's been a lot of fun.
Thank you. Ed, why don't you wrap it up?
No, this is yours.
Well, for the panel here, who I introduced and talked about, great people, for Coach Collins, I had to leave early, for my co-host Ed, and thank you for all the help you've given me. And we've had a lot of fun doing
We did,
games
didn't we?
and doing sports close-up, and the golf show was your idea.
And
which
just
turned out to be
remember,
great.
when you go down to Florida,
Yeah.
just not like when you were in Concord and when you thought that those dragonflies were big mosquitoes. Right? They're going to have bigger insects down there. Go ahead, keep going.
You're right about that, yeah. But anyway, for all the people and for you out in the community, thanks for watching Sports Close-Up with me, and thanks to all, again, thanks to all the coaches, the athletes, all the important people we've had on over the years, and thanks for a few people that passed on for their help in putting this show on and helping me. And you know, Crawford County, I'll miss you, but God bless all of you, and John and Ed will take over, and you'll be in great hands. And that's it from Sports Close-Up for all these people. Thanks for watching Sports Close-Up on Armstrong.
Go darn.
Thank you, guys.